2.5 years ago, we were rebuilding a steel boat to fit myself, my wife Melissa, and our son Jack. And then we discovered that we were having another baby, which we never thought would happen. So that was amazing, but it did mean that we'd need a bigger boat. So after a bit of shopping around and searching, we found this boat, Ocean Melody, which is a Bowman 46. She was in a very sorry state, having been ashore for at least 10 years, and we took her on, and it's been a labour of love over the last 2 years to get her up to standard, and that work is still continuing. Over the last few weeks, I've fitted this fantastic new bow roller inside the chain locker, and if you've seen those episodes, you'll have seen the work going on inside the anchor locker. That work continues today as I refit the anchor windlass and start work on doing some rewiring and plumbing in a deck wash system. Since the last time you saw inside this locker, I've painted it all out and glassed in a marine ply floor for the chain to sit on, much better. But to stop the chain making an ungodly row when I drop it into the chain locker, I bought these interlocking rubber mats. They're from a company called endurancesurfaces.co.uk. They're 8mm thick, 500mm by 500mm, and they're only £4 each, which I reckon is a bargain. They're designed for garage and gym floors, so they're hard wearing enough to drive a car on and drop weights on and stuff like that. So it's exactly what we need, and it's probably worth you making a note of them if you need some for any reason. Right, there's the matting in. It's screwed to the bulkhead, screwed to the new floor. These three pieces are locking together, more or less. That one doesn't, obviously. You can't get that one too because of the shape. It's just too much of a compound weirdness. So I've used an adhesive, a contact adhesive, just need to stick that down, to hold it in place. Once the chain's in, the chain will sit on top of that and it'll weigh it all down. So it's not going to fly around. That contact adhesive is just to hold it in place so that it doesn't fold up the first time we put the chain in. This here is our deck wash. So you can plug a hose into this. It's got an on-off switch and it runs to a pump that I've never got round to installing. Now, I did install this ages ago just to put it in position, and I didn't actually like the position it was in. So I'm going to position it further up here for the reason that it has a sliding hatch that goes on the front, and where I put it, you couldn't use the sliding hatch properly because of the contours of the shape of the locker. So it's going to go over here. Yeah, it's going to go pretty much up here, I think. But I've been outside and checked where it needs to go, and I'm going to kind of make sure I get it in the right place. There's a wooden template for the hole, so that's roughly the position. And now I'm going to go outside and check, you know, and then obviously I'll draw that a lot neater before I start cutting it out. Hello again. Okay, so this fits perfectly. That's great. Really happy with that. It's a nice snug fit. Obviously that will be screwed and sealed. I shall seal the living daylights out of it. And the other bits that I've got to fit in here are this, which is the plug for the remote for the windlass, and this, which is the isolator key. Now, there's a bit of I like to have the isolator key outside by the windlass, so that if there's an emergency and you have a runaway windlass, or somebody gets their finger trapped in the chain or something daft, you don't have to run down here and try and get into the forepeak and get behind socks and pants to get to this. I like to have this outside in this sort of anchor locker here. It's where we keep our bridle and stuff. The downside, of course, is that this isn't the most waterproof locker on the boat, and it does tend to get a bit tarnished. So I need to seal this up really well, but I might look for a different solution to this eventually. It's worked fine for 18 months, but I noticed when I took the old one off that there was a bit of corrosion, but I also noticed it wasn't the best sealed thing in the world. So I'm going to put this here, I think. The other thing that I'd made a mistake is I'd put the previous isolator was kind of too close to this, which has just made it awkward. So I'm going to put this either here or there, and the same with that really. Yeah, so these can plug in. In fact, that can go back where it was. There's no reason for that not to go back where it was. And then of course I need to fill these holes. Is that going to be big enough? Oh, you pants. Let's have a look. I need to fill these holes. So I'm going to put a template on. Oh, I've got. Yeah. That will be my template for a piece of wood to go in there, which I'll glue in and then skim over. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, right. Yeah. So there's one, and then the other one is going to be like this, like that, like that. Join them together. Should have brought in a slightly bigger piece of card, but I only need a piece of wood that I can just cut roughly to shape, because it's going to be glued in and then filled over anyway. So that's 1, 2, yeah, 3, yeah, 4, 5. There we go. And then this one is the template that I've made for this key here. See, that goes through there like that. That's my cardboard template for that. And I'll probably do that from. I'll go and check from the outside exactly where I want that, because there's, you know, the lid and things to consider. Obviously that key's going to go in from the outside, but I've made me hole, and I'm just going to cut. I've actually used the piece that I cut out of there to go back into there. I've glued it in, and then I'll epoxy over it. But I'm just going to make a little piece of foam to go in here. Now the foam I'm using, you might think, if you've not seen this kind of thing before, that's crazy using foam on a boat. No, it's not. This is Armacell PET Divinyl. It's incredibly strong structural foam, and lots of boats are built pretty much exclusively out of this stuff. So, well, you know, obviously with fiberglass on top. So, filling a hole like this, it's absolutely ideal to use a piece of foam like this. In fact, the whole deck of this boat is cored with foam, as are many boats. There we go. Look at that. That's a nice snug fit. and I can glass over that, and then to glue it in place until I epoxy over it, I'm just going to use super glue, because this foam doesn't melt when you super glue it, which is great. So let's just check that. Going in that way? Yeah, you're going in that way. Okay, so super glue. Like so. And then this, again, the glue just holds it in place until you can get a good nice layer of epoxy over the top. There we go. And then this stuff is called a kicker. It's accelerator. It's basically a trichloroethane spray that sets the cyanoacrylate glue a lot faster. So what I've done here, I've got the piece that I cut out of there, like I said, and I've just put a piece of plastic card on the back glued to it, and I'll epoxy over the whole thing. And then this, I'll shave this down to the right thickness and do the same thing. That'll be lovely. And then of course all of these will be sealed in with Sikaflex and stuff. Okay, so as you've seen, I've put a big wooden board up here to act as a spreader plate for the windlass, and I've Sikaflexed that up. That's all nice and dry, and I've Sikaflexed this in and this in, so they're all sealed up. The next thing then is running some cabling and some pipe work, and that's part of the reason why I put a big plywood board up here, as you can see, is so that I've got a wooden board that I can screw my pipe clips to. This is my big backing board, all sealed up with Sikaflex. I've got 2 pieces of stainless. I drilled this one slightly wrong, so I've had to cut it down, but that's totally fine. So it's got a piece of 12mm marine grade hardwood, beach hardwood, that's fiberglassed on both sides. This is fully encapsulated. And then 2 6mm pieces of stainless steel plate, and then big penny washers. And I've tightened it up so tight, it's ridiculous, and sealed all these cables in. So these are now going to go through into the forward locker, so that the solenoid that controls this, that switches it backwards and forwards, left to right, is in the locker, not in here. So if I have to fiddle with it, I haven't got to get back in here to do it. I did catch that with the flipping with the grinder when I was trimming these down, so I'm going to have to replace that one. Now, I don't know whether to P-clip that or tie wrap it to this. I mean, the bottom line is, if this pipe bursts off, it's going to pour water over that regardless, isn't it? Yeah, I'll just tie wrap it, I think, because that is a perfectly good solution. Yeah, let's do that. This cable, as I say, is the power for the deck wash. I'll put a little bit of slack in the end so that it doesn't vibrate and pull on the plugs. And this pipe is so firmly clipped up, I've just replaced that one that I scuffed. Was it that one or that one? I don't know. But I scuffed one of these with the grinder when I was cutting off the excess thread on these bolts for the windlass. And so I've replaced that. So the pipe is really secure. And I don't know of any reason why I shouldn't do this. If anybody says, oh no, that's a really, really, really bad idea, like a terrible idea, then I can P-clip it here, can't I? But I can't think of a reason why not. Tell me in the comments if you think that that's a terrible terrible, terrible bad thing to do. It keeps it tidy, doesn't it? And it's not like, well, you can't get water on the wires. Well, the wires are plastic, they're waterproof, aren't they? So, yeah. Now, these 3 cables here, the big chunky ones, they're the ones that come from the anchor windlass motor itself. And if you notice, I've brought them down in a bit of a loop. And the reason for that is that if any water does get in there, which is bound to eventually, as much as I've tried to seal it up, it's bound to eventually, it'll drip off here instead of going down through these holes. That's the theory. In practice, it doesn't work. Well, in practice, it sort of does. But my theory is that by creating this loop, any drips that form will drop off there, not run all the way down, because it'd have to go back uphill to go down there. So might work. It's an effort, isn't it? I'm giving it some thought. Last one then is this, and I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to P-clip that with a loop-de-loop in it. Oh, where are we? There we go. Let's P-clip you with a loop-de-loop. If you're wondering why they're called P-clips, it's because they're the shape of a letter P. Can you see that? I think you can. I think you can see that. There's this cable which comes from the socket, the plug socket for the remote. I'm going to screw you in there. And I'm doing my best where possible not to screw into the tabbing. So you can see this bulkhead is fiberglassed all the way round, you know, about 4 inches border. So I could have drilled these 3 holes up here, but I didn't want to, because I didn't want to drill into this tabbing, because that's pretty structural stuff. So I wanted to avoid drilling into that, which is why I put them fraction lower than, you know, in theory they could have gone. Right, this cable I've got to run down to the windlass bank. So it's a whole load of wiring now, along with these. Yeah, they've got to be wired up as well. I'm out of there at last. I'm still going to have to go back in there to do a few bits and pieces. However, the bulk of the work is done. I've got to run some plumbing, and I've got to wire it all up and figure out exactly how I'm going to wire up this solenoid. And like I say, I want the solenoid in this locker so it's dry and it doesn't get all manky in the chain locker. So that's the next stage of the operation. Let's crack on. Here's my cables for the power for the windlass. Now, the astute amongst you will probably be wondering what I'm going to do with drainage, because of course when you pull the anchor chain up, it comes with water, a certain amount anyway, and it's going to pool here, and this lip isn't that high, so I want to drain this fairly effectively. I'm going to drill a hole at the front, because this false floor I've put in tilts forwards slightly, so the water will naturally go down to this front end. And I'm going to put in this stainless steel fitting drain, which will have a pipe on, which will lead into our bilge, grey water bilge in the saloon. So I'm going to drill a hole there, yeah, about there. I want to be as far forward as I can go without drilling through the boat. There we go. Can you see that? Yep. You can see my finger there, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. So the water will drain down here into this this bilge under here, and I can then take that away and down into the where the bilge pump is. Another thing I've got to fit is this D-ring for the bitter end of the anchor chain. Yeah, I'm going to have to make sure I don't get that in the small of my back when I get in the locker, but I'm tired of this job now and I want it done, and I need to get this episode out because today it's now Tuesday afternoon at 1:30. Normally we get our episodes out to Patreon on a Sunday. They get it a few days earlier because they pay for the privilege. You know, it's like I say, it's like a club basically. It's like if you join the Beano or the Dandy Club, you know what I mean, with Patreon. It's a bit like the Beano and the Dandy Club. If you join the Beano and the Dandy Club, you get the magazine or the cartoon or the comic delivered to your door, you know, a week earlier than it's on the shelves. It's just like that, really, and you pay a small fee for the privilege. And we thoroughly love our patrons for the support they give us, because, again, without you guys and the YouTube channel, we wouldn't be doing this, and without our patrons, we wouldn't be doing this. That makes up about 50% of our small income. But because Melissa is away again, she's house sitting for our friend. Do you remember the guy, the people that we house sat for or last year who got the farmhouse in Wales? Well, he'd got very aggressive brain cancer and was given weeks to live, and he's spent a lot of money and had some private treatment and is 100% cured, but finds the cold weather very difficult. So he's gone away to find some warmer weather, and they've got a couple of dogs, as you remember, and so Melissa's up there with the kids house and dog sitting for a fortnight, and we're already halfway through that first week. So I've got, again, this little time on my own to do some bits and pieces, and I want to get this one done, but it has meant that I'm working a bit slower, plus I'm feeling a bit under the weather. So today it's now Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. and I should have had this episode out on Sunday for our patrons, so sorry guys, but it's coming out, it'll be bang on time. So when you watch this, we're not just up to date, it's about, by the time I upload it, it'll be about half an hour after I finish work at this rate. Sorry, people say, why do you talk so much on these videos? Can you not talk and work at the same time? Not really, not when I'm in this position, because I'm squashing my stomach muscles doing boat yoga, and talking and working at the same time for a fat old man like me is asking a bit much, really. Right, there we go. That's bolted down. That's going nowhere. Happy. Pipework's done. Wiring. Carry on wiring. Mistake though, while I was tightening up the battery terminals, I touched one thing that I shouldn't have touched on the isolator with the spanner that I was using to tighten up the lug, and I've created a nasty burn on my thumb, and there was a lot of sparks. So I basically turned the battery pack into an arc welder and welded the spanner to my thumb. So that stings like a bad word, and yeah, so I'm running it under the tap. I need to get this finished. It's what time is it now? Time's going on. Stop talking, work. The final piece of the puzzle. This is a whale system, by the way. It's by a company called Whale, who are kind of the brand leaders in this stuff. And the final piece of the puzzle is this pump. That's going to live under the cupboard in the heads. My plan is to show you it working before the end of the day, but that might not happen because, you know, I'm on a tight, I'm cutting it fine now. I'm really annoyed. Everything's fine, I just can't, I haven't got the last couple of little plumbing bits that I need to connect that up to the water. I thought I'd got everything, and I'm missing a piece of an adapter basically to adapt one side of pipe, size of pipe to another. So after all my efforts to try and get this flipping pump working to show you in this episode, so I can go, job done, tick, you know, started a job and finished it, all the rest of it, I've failed for the sake of one fitting. It'll come next week, or the week after, or the week after. Yeah, really annoyed. Anyway, let's see if the windlass works. What's even more annoying is that I now can't find where I've put the remote for the windlass. I want to get this done because I make these videos for you guys. You know, if I wasn't making the video, I wouldn't push myself to get the job done in time and make a nice video for you guys to see. But I want to get the job done so that you can see the result of all this. You know, you've just invested 20-30 minutes of your time watching this drivel. So I want to show you some results for it. Found it. Please let it work. If it doesn't work, I'm going to cry. You're going to see a grown man cry on telly. Yeah. The windlass is installed, the wiring is all done. Down works, clearly, but up isn't working. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry guys. I've failed on the deck wash mission and I've failed on the windlass mission. I can't carry on now. I've got to get this edited and online to you guys by 6 o'clock. So, next time. Not only that, but I literally haven't got anywhere to sit or sleep tonight. So I'm going to close the episode here, tidy this up, and get the episode edited. It's all mostly edited. I've edited it up to last night. It's just today's stuff that's got to go on. Yeah, over to other Andy. So thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. It's thanks to you guys on YouTube that this channel keeps going. It's a lot of work on the boat, but it's also a lot of work keeping up with the editing and running the YouTube channel. So thank you so, so much for supporting us and watching and commenting and all the love and the support. You're so, so kind in all the comments, and we love reading them, even if we don't get the chance to answer all of them. Thanks, of course, especially to our patrons who help us financially, and that's they're like a proper little club. So if you want to join that club, head over to patreon.com/sailing melody. There's a link in the description, along with a few other links. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the episode, and see you next week, guys. Bye bye.